right. So addictions. Let's kind of chop it up. Anything you guys have worked on? Anything you've kicked? Any tips you have for anybody in regards to like conquering something?
I think the biggest thing right now is I feel like as a consensus, like general public, I feel like we're all addicted to our phones.
Yeah.
And I think anything that takes us out of our element, like either whether it's being present or I think that's just something to address.
Why do we stick to the phone so much? Like, why do we want to scroll and stick on the phone so much? What do you think generally?
Oh, bro, it's like
Cheap
designed.
dopamine
They have like engineers and scientists working on the algorithm to make it as addictive as possible.
Yeah.
I
Give me
just
a little more.
on like what
Well, just
specifically?
because I feel like we've heard that, right? That like
Yeah.
it's engineered to attract us, but like I'm just trying to dig deeper. Like, why do we stay on social? Like, I'm trying to find another reason that we stay like scrolling.
Yeah, we could talk about like the chemical and like physical response that it has in our body.
Run it.
Yeah.
Or if you guys want to like, also we could talk about like a specific example of you overcoming the journey of the hill of addiction.
Well, I think the issue I think a lot of people tend to have is cheap dopamine hits. We're hooked on that, right? The iPhone, the phone scrolling, all that, it gives you cheap dopamine hits, right? We're not really attached to what's that term I'm looking for? Where it's like, I'll come back to me, but where you're not you don't want immediate results right now, right? We're actually supposed to work for long-term results. So cheap dopamine hits,
like delayed gratification.
there we go, delayed gratification. That's where the piece comes from, right? But we're hooked on pornography, on drinking, and we want these hits like right now. And even like women or whatever relationships and having like sexual immorality, like all that is an actual thing. And the addictions that everybody has, it's completely different. It could be food, it could be drugs, it could be going to concerts,
Working.
right? Working, where we attach value to like feeling a result and we want a result right now, right?
I don't know if that's like, I don't know how much of that, I'm sure 100% you're right. Like I think in parallel, what like resonates more with me in regards to addiction is that like it has like a hold on you and there's like a physical, emotional constraint that you have.
Like a craving for it.
A craving, yeah. I've noticed like when I'm on my phone too much, when I want to stop, everything else seems so mundane and unstimulating. And I think that's where they speak that it's so bad, right? So you're constantly getting hits, very stimulating hits in your phone because you're constantly scrolling. When you stop and you want to wash the dishes or write that paper or do some research, it's really hard because that has no dopamine
No
in
immediate.
it. Yeah. So I think that's like acknowledging that, I think it's important.
One of y'all have talked about, I think, please, and tee it up, whoever it is, has talked about like the idea of like cheap food versus quality food and how that ties in. Which one of you talked about like what do we call social media? We call it what? Like a bag of chips?
Yeah,
versus what's
reading a
opposite?
book might be like a nice steak dinner because you're gaining better information versus seeing, I don't know, like guys do
calories.
donuts on the internet and then you see like someone
videos.
in like Southeast Asia build a home like with no tool and you're just like, oh, look at this cat video. Like you're not gaining anything from it, which
Yeah.
is kind of like the metaphor of like a bag of chips. There's nothing of substance in it versus you have a nice
Empty calories.
Empty
Is the
calories.
phrase we use, right? Like social
That's
media
it.
can be empty calories. And the other point I wanted to drop on this, I think when you don't have like a more consistent, reliable state of like that brings you good dopamine or wellness, healthy dopamine, whether that be like through a relationship or through finding purpose in your work, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
When you don't have that, that's when you're more inclined to like go seek out getting fucked up on a Friday, right?
Yeah.
Like I still fuck with drink, I still drink, but I've noticed over the
Yeah,
years,
when I
as,
went
like,
up that here and there, it's great. Like, yeah,
there, right?
Pero como
Like
viste
I noticed my
diferente,
need
güey.
for it to like get fucked up on a weekend declined as I got more intentional with my career and my relationships.
yeah.
Well, because your reward system's actually been reset. Like what he was saying is true. Is when you're hooked on these addictions, right? Where you're just like constantly craving some type of dopamine hit on the. So we'll go back to the cell phone, right? Your reward system is comfortable at this level, right?
Yeah.
Whereas being on the phone and for hours and scrolling, it's like it's up here, right? Like you're giving it this, and now
Yeah.
your body goes, "Oh, you're giving me this. Okay, my craving is gonna come up here." And your craving for an addiction always goes slightly higher than what you were currently at. So now you crave more of that and it keeps tearing up, right? So if you get this amount of dopamine hit from scrolling on videos, right? Or drinking or smoking weed or whatever it is, then washing the dishes gives you this dopamine hit.
No, arguably like a negative.
And
now you're at
now
negative.
there's a deficit.
Yeah.
And now you're like, I don't want to do that because you want to constantly hit this metric of this new dopamine hit. And the thing is having like a dopamine cleanse of
No, I
either
love
cold
that you bring
turkey
that
or-
the dopamine cleanse because like that's huge. It's like dopamine detox, right? And it happens even and like so yeah, like social media and being on your phone might raise you above like base level a little bit,
Yeah.
and then there's experiences and harder drugs that raise you really high. But the issue with going really high is that your value is even lower, and it takes
Yeah.
longer to go back to base level. Yeah, if you guys want to talk about dopamine detox, that'd be cool.
And
You've
then
talked about that,
withdrawals,
right?
too.
Like keeping,
Yeah.
you said Huberman, or you found it somewhere that like you want to keep a steady baseline, right?
Yeah.
It's like the drop in dopamine when you feel really depre and sad and like, so
Because you're
just,
trying to climb back to base level. Yeah.
uh-huh.
At service, they the pastor said something. Hopefully I don't butcher it, but he says addictions never meet you where you're at. They take you further. Like it always takes you further. Like it's just never enough, right? And the whole dopamine cleanse and all that, like it's hard, man. It's fucking hard because now you're experiencing withdrawal symptoms, right? Where you're actually giving up like all these cravings and you're kind of scratching like, oh, I want to pick up my phone, but I can't. Like for some reason, you don't even know why you want to pick up the phone. You had said this like a while back is, what am I looking for?
What am I looking for? Yeah.
Like, why do I keep going on the phone? What is it that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
You're looking to satisfy the craving. That's what you're looking for. Lo que caiga in regards to like content
and
is like whatever
it's
hits.
also like really habitual, the things that we do. And I think a lot of addiction like lands under habits.
Yeah.
You know, and James Clear talks about this a lot in like Atomic
Love that
Habits.
book,
Like
man.
your physical environment has a direct influence of the things that you do.
Yeah.
So if this little corner in your apartment or your car or at work is where you always smoke a cigarette, next time you're standing there, you're gonna want to smoke a cigarette.
Yeah.
And it's like it's these spaces that have a lot of like physical, emotional control over our body as well. Subconsciously, yeah. And I think we need to highlight that. Go ahead.
Hit us real quick. Like for those that I had never heard of it, TBH, what does a dopamine detox look like? Like if I want to go do one, what's it look like? What do I do?
Yeah.
For me, it was a lot of it came from like giving up like the pornography, right? Diet, working on not eating certain like sugary foods. Anything that comes in externally into you, be it visually, where you're actually eating some type of food, the things you actually partake in, all of that has an effect on your dopamine, right?
Okay.
If you're constantly getting these hits at the club, don't go to the club.
Got it.
But
Okay.
the thing is, you have to accept how uncomfortable it's going to feel from not being
Bet.
in these situations, these environments.
Okay.
Like for me, that kind of helps me reset, going back to the whole environment, right? Because in James Clear, in that book, Game Changer, bro, is the environment that you currently have is putting you in this cycle of repeating these habits, right? So for me, I constantly move things around in my apartment.
Yeah.
I don't want the TV here anymore. Let me put it over here, see how that feels.
Yeah.
I'm gonna switch up my hairstyle. Like I want to see how I look differently. I'm gonna start dressing differently. Like you start identifying yourself as a new person and using external elements to kind of help you beat some of these like cycles that we have. Because everything we do is habitual.
Yep.
Yeah, just to add more to the dopamine detox is eliminating all stimuli, eliminating the stimuli so you could go back to base level.
Bet.
And like how you mentioned, this could be like things that you're putting in your body, things that you're consuming. It's just about giving yourself the space to kind of reset and not have the urge that these urges that we talk about that are like in subconsciously like triggered within our space. But it's super important.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Right?
Bet.
Anything else you guys want to add?
No, I just want to encourage anyone that is struggling to change a habit, do a little dopamine detox, give yourself a stronger base level, and I think you'll have a better opportunity to kind of overcome that hesitation or like that little friction that you're feeling.
Yeah, I think the tip that I would have is start off small. Start off with the small things. Try not to conquer everything at once. Work on the small thing. It could be, I'm gonna put a timer on myself when I scroll. I'm gonna put 10 minutes on the timer. As soon as the timer hits, you stay consistent with that. And then once you start gaining credibility of conquering one little small win, it starts collecting and it starts snowballing into bigger things.
Don't boil the ocean.
Don't boil the ocean,
pot,
boil
baby.
the pot, bro. That always stuck with me. But
Bet.
All right. I think that's a
wrap.
good place to wrap. All right,
Thank you,
addictions.
fellas.
All
Good
right.
shit, boys.
Good job.